Quasi here, and in this video, I'm going to share with you how you can master your subconscious mind by really understanding your thought process and really by understanding how to control your mind. What I'm going to share with you in this video is going to completely change your life. Make sure you stick around to the very end of this video because this was something that took me a really long time to figure out, but also something that was extremely profound to me in my journey, in my business, in my personal life. Okay? Once you learn how to master your subconscious processes, anything can come under your control. Before I begin this video, I want to quickly announce that a couple of spots have opened up for the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery program. Make sure you wait around till the end of the video for the announcement on that. And with that, let's get started. So today I want to talk to you about subconscious mastery and understanding your thought process, what really makes manifestation and creation happen, why you keep staying stuck in certain patterns in your life, why it seems so difficult to break free. Okay, so really what you've got to understand is that right now, we let our minds use us instead of learning how to use our minds, okay? So most people let their minds use them rather than understanding how to use their minds to achieve success, to achieve what they want. Most think that thoughts are bad, mind is bad, eliminate all thoughts. You know, in the spiritual journey, you start to think that. But thoughts are only bad when they start to take control over your life. Your mind is only bad when it starts to take control over your life. There's a reason why there is a mind. There's a reason why there is thought, okay? Now, it depends on what your goal is. If you want to achieve material success, if you want to, see wealth, you want to flourish in the physical realm, okay, in this finite realm, then it's imperative for you to understand how to, take control of your mental processes, rather than letting these mental processes take control of you. This is the sole difference why some people get to the point where they consider taking their own lives, where other people get to the point where they become unstoppable and become so wildly successful, right? And what I'm about to share with you in this video is essentially just that. So really what you've got to understand is that what the mind consists of is just thought. What you call as the mind is thought. They're synonymous. Mind, thought, mind, right? So understand that thought is just mind, and mind contains data, right? The very problem we run into is when we start to think that we are the thoughts, when identification becomes with thought, when identification becomes with mind. Okay, when you start to identify with your mind, you start to ride ups and downs with the mind. When you have a good thought, you feel good. When you have a bad thought, you feel bad, right? So now there is no distinguishment between thought and the observer of thoughts, okay? So in understanding that, we get to this diagram. Understand that thoughts are like the clouds, right? There's a positive thought, there's a negative thought, there's a neutral thought. These are all just thoughts, but these clouds are contained in space. What is that space that contains these clouds? Who is it that's observing these thoughts? This brings me to the separation between the mind and the observer of the mind, okay? This is observer, and this is thought/mind. Now, in understanding that, okay, you've got to understand that there are thoughts that are incoming and there are thoughts that are outgoing. What do I mean by that? Well, thoughts are just data, okay? And data is subject to just you accumulating it. But what happens in the mental process is that how you put a meaning on certain thought dictates how your life follows. So that also brings me to the sweeter aspect of thought, in understanding masculine and the feminine, okay? Masculine plus feminine, mother plus father equals child, right? Masculine plus feminine gives you creation. The masculine portion is the overly logical part, which is the thought. The feminine portion is the emotion, Okay, it's still part of the thought, but it's the more sweeter part of it. When thought and emotion come together, that's when creation happens, right? That's when manifestation process even comes about. Now, the problem is when there is unconscious internalization of these thoughts. When you become attached to these thoughts and you collect all this data, and this is all incoming data that's coming into you, you collect them, you unconsciously attach a meaning, aka an emotion, to this thought. This thought then becomes a reality. Okay? This is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle in the quantum physics area, where there is talk of the collapsing wave function. If you look that up, what this essentially means is when you observe a phenomenon or a wave, the wave function collapses and it becomes a particle. It becomes physical. So just like that, when you put a meaning onto a thought, it collapses and it becomes physical reality. Right? So there is positive and negative emotion. Both of these have the power to create and attract reality. Okay? This is the quality of your attention. Your attention is also tied to your emotion. Okay? It's like what meaning you're putting onto it. Is it a positive emotion, aka attention, or a negative emotion, aka attention? When you put a positive meaning onto something, you attract it in your life. When you put a negative meaning onto something, you attract it in your life. How life is unfolding right now is in certain frames. Let's say an event has occurred in your past and you put a positive meaning onto that event. The subsequent events that follow from that trajectory are also going to be positive. Okay? So positive leads to more positive events. But if you put a negative meaning onto that event, and this is what people do unconsciously when they have these traumas, they put a negative meaning onto it, then the subsequent events become negative. And they start to stay stuck in this negative feedback loop. You can stay stuck in a positive feedback loop, which is more favorable, but you can also stay stuck in a negative feedback loop, which becomes unfavorable, right? Let's say you got bullied as a child and you put a negative meaning on that, and now everything starts to fall into that story of, oh, I'm like this because I got bullied. As opposed to, you put a positive meaning onto it and you say, okay, this bullying was good, it taught me a lesson. And then you start to grow up and become more of a charismatic person, more adaptable, and you learn how to fit into social settings. Then you're like, oh, bullying was good, right? So that's what happened to me. I see a lot of people put negative meaning onto bullying, but when I put a positive meaning onto it, I see that, oh, look, I've become this way. I'm able to make these YouTube videos right now because I got bullied. So this is all a positive thing to me. It's like, what attention are you going to put onto it? What emotion are you going to attach to this thought? Another key thing to understand is your thoughts aren't yours. It's just data. When you start to take ownership of these thoughts and you identify with them, you say, these are my thoughts. That's when you run into trouble, because now there is unconscious attachment to it. Now it's not under your control. You don't choose what meaning you put onto it. The moment you start to identify with not the thought, but you start to see who it is that's aware of these thoughts. What is the space that contains these thoughts? And you neutrally observe it. That's when these thoughts have no power over you. That's when you're naturally observing and naturally becoming identified with the space that contains it, the awareness, the consciousness that contains it. Okay? So in understanding that, I want to share with you now the 3 keys that's going to help you really master this. Okay? And totally learn to redirect your reality so you can choose what you want. I want you to pay attention to the very end of this video, okay? Because this was very, very key for me to understand. So what you got to understand is, number 1, learn to keep your mind empty. First and foremost. Okay, so positive and negative attention have the power to create and attract reality. Neutral attention has the power to dissolve reality. I'm going to say that one more time. Positive and negative attention have the power to create and attract reality. Neutral attention dissolves it. Why so many yogis, why so many people on the spiritual path are so concerned with neutral attention and observing and letting be, is because they have no concern with the material realm. In this material realm, they've gotten to the realization that nothing will give them peace. No amount of money will give you peace. No amount of success will give you peace. but rather only when you dissolve it and you start to see the true nature of life, right? So our hypothesis, our meanings start to cloud and, determine which trajectory our lives follow. So in general, the neutral state, the best thing to do is after you, finish your work and you finish doing what you needed to do, you just keep your workplace clean. So the best thing to do in that sense is to just learn to keep your mind empty. And obviously that's easier said than done, but there are many processes to help you keep your mind empty. One of them is neutrally observing your thoughts and letting them be. That is when you identify with this space. When you start to neutrally observe thoughts, those thoughts get dissolved. Those thoughts have no longer any power over you. Because what happens is if you start to see your thoughts and you start to unconsciously, identify with them, they start to run your actions. You have a thought of, oh no, what if I got a bad email? Now you want to go and check your email. Oh no, what if someone said this on my social media? You're unconsciously identified with this thought. A simple thing you can do is observe this thought as it comes. And now this thought has no longer power over you. Another powerful thing you can do is learn to really ask to whom this thought occurs and get identified with the source of that thought. That's more of a deeper discussion, which I won't go into in this video, but you can click up here to check that out. The process for doing that is called self-inquiry, okay? So understand that you got to learn to keep your mind generally empty, because if you have an empty mind, whichever thought you put in it, which outgoing thought you're putting in it, will start to really create and manifest in a more powerful way, because now there isn't 51% negative thought and 49% positive thought, but 100% positive thought in what you want to see in your life. Okay? That's number one. Number two, understand that you got to become biased. This was ridiculous for me to internalize, because why should I be biased? Shouldn't I just address everything that's going on? No. Just choose the thought that you actually want. If there's a negative thought there, you ignore it. You let it be. And you nurture the positive thought. It's kind of like you have a dog and you give it positive reinforcement instead of negative. You don't punish them, but you just tell them this is good. Or you have a child and you give them positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is much more powerful than negative, right? Because when you give negative reinforcement, then you build them up with fear. And anyone that runs with fear will eventually cause tyranny, right? So it's like whatever you focus on, you move towards. If you keep focusing on the negative and keep punishing the negative, you're going to move more and more towards the negative. If you keep focusing on the positive and rewarding the positive, you're going to keep moving towards the positive. This is called target fixation. Whatever you focus on, you move towards. You're on a highway, you look at that car next to you, you focus on avoiding that car, you're going to move towards that car, right? So choose what you actually do want, which thought you do want. This brings me to that concept of the incoming versus outgoing thoughts. There's always going to be incoming thoughts. You're going to receive all this data from your environment. Which one are you choosing to put out there? Which one do you emotionally energize? Which one do you put a positive meaning to? That's number two. Number three, what you got to understand is anytime you have this negative thought, all you got to do is change the meaning that you attach to it. Change your relationship to that thought. If it's a negative thought that you have of your business going down, understand that, okay, my business can go down, but I'm probably going to learn a lesson from it that'll help me become successful anyways, right? So change the meaning of the negative one into a positive one. Understand that even if the negative does happen, it's not a problem. It's just this attachment to avoiding failure. That's the biggest thing that gets most people, right? Most are more concerned with avoiding failure than actually going to success. You would much rather not lose $100 than make $200. You know what I mean? So this was a topic that's a little bit difficult to fully understand, so I urge you to watch this video again. But before I conclude, I'm going to recap the whole gist of this video. What we talked about was understanding and mastering your subconscious mind. And understand that if you don't use your mind will use you. Okay? And really understand that what the mind consists of is just thought. That's all the mind is. And thoughts are just data. And this data is in the form of incoming and outgoing. Incoming thoughts are the ones that comes from your environment and events that happen. And all events are inherently neutral. It's just what meaning you put on these events that dictates how your life unfolds, right? So You can turn an incoming thought into an outgoing one by you either unconsciously reacting to it or you consciously choosing and nurturing it by the meaning you put onto it. Okay? So understand that there are the masculine part of the thought, the overly logical part, which is the thought itself, and the emotion behind the thought. What meaning do you put onto the thought? What attention do you put onto it? There's 3 types of attention: positive, negative, neutral. When you put positive attention on that thought, it starts to materialize and move you towards the positive direction, aka your life takes a positive trajectory. When you put a negative meaning onto a thought, then it goes to the negative trajectory. Okay? When you put neutral meaning onto it and you just neutrally observe it, then you start to identify with the observer. Then you become the space, and all of these thoughts, they dissolve anyways. They go away and you become more and more empty. So that should be the neutral state of being, which is just neutrally observing thoughts, which is the most effective thing to do, keeping your mind empty. When you're done with your workspace, you clean it up, right? Which brings me to the 3 keys. Number 1, learn to keep your mind empty. The most effective way to do that is self-inquiry, video up here, but also what would suffice is learning to observe these thoughts and not identifying with them. You just watch them. Let them be there. Don't try to change them. No matter how hard they feel, let them be. Don't try to let go. Let them be. It's as simple as that. Number 2, what you got to do is become biased. Choose the thoughts that you do want and just observe all the rest as well. Right? And number 3, the best thing you can do is just change the meaning of a negative thought into a positive one. What's happened in your life in the previous that was negative? Change the meaning of that, okay, I had to go through this path to arrive here. And I had to go through that path to arrive at where I'm going to arrive to. When you sort of put a meaning like that, then the whole trajectory of your life just shifts. And now it follows a positive trajectory because now you've put that positive meaning onto it. Okay? And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. And also, I'm super excited to announce, as I mentioned before, a couple of spots have opened up for the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery Program. The link for that is in the description below. And who we work with are typically as follows. First of all, professionals who are looking to take their professional careers to the next level, or they're looking to really take their entrepreneurial careers to the next level. And what they find is they've tried all of the different business opportunities, the affiliate marketing, the stock trading, the real estate investing, nothing ever sticks. And they know that the problem isn't with the opportunity and the business model itself because other people are getting successful with it, but rather it's an internal problem. They've been conditioned. Their identity is that of the corporate worker, so that's what they fall back to all the time. That sounds like you? Please click on the link below to sign up. Also, we work with entrepreneurs looking to take their businesses to the next level and their revenues to the next level, or they have inconsistent revenue and they can't maintain it. And they've tried all the different tactics, strategies, and they know it's not a tactical or strategic problem, but an internal ceiling keeping them stuck here. That sounds like you. The link for that is in the description below. Also, I'm super excited to announce the free Facebook group is open for you to take advantage of. The link for that is also in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Peace.